Alright guys, got the request to do the POCO X3 Pro versus the Galaxy S10 Plus. Pretty interesting because they're around the same price, honestly, in that like $300 price range. The POCO you can find a little bit cheaper for like I think $250, and I'll put the link down below to the cheapest ones of both of these guys. But they're close in price, and I guess it does make sense here. So let's go ahead and get started. I love that both these phones have headphone jack and stereo speakers. Let's start up with a little boot up here, see which one gets in here first. So basically an old flagship versus a the POCO is technically a mid-ranger, but it's got a very strong processor. S10 in their first, POCO right behind it. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the specs a little bit real quick. So we do have the Snapdragon 860 on the POCO with 6 gigs of RAM, micro SD support, 128 gigs of internal storage as well. And then on the S10 Plus, we have the Snapdragon 855 with 8 gigs of RAM. We also have SD card support along with 128 gigs of internal storage as well here. So let's go ahead and just take a look at these scores. You can see POCO beats it out with the single core and also the multi-core as well here. So before we start launching apps, I do want to mention that the fingerprint scanner on the S10 is super fast. Like, it's one of those tap fingerprint sensors, which is something that I really like. It's very fast. Now, I do still like the fingerprint sensor on the POCO. I just think it's just in a perfect placement. Like, I really think like all phones should have this option. It just feels like more efficient, but they both feel extremely fast. Like, let's go ahead and launch some applications. Make sure all apps were updated here. Let's go ahead and exit out of everything, and let's get started with Subway Surf here. So I don't see one really jumping out from the other. They should be kind of tied. Yeah, so I think the S10 was a little bit faster, but they should be, you know, pretty much tied here. It's not a massive difference. So what you notice with the screen is that on the S10 it's a full 1440p, and it's a you know, dynamic AMOLED display. On the POCO it's an IPS display, and it's 1080p. So you do have a better screen on the S10. But what you'll notice here is that the POCO feels a little bit faster because it has the 120 Hertz display. The S10 Plus only has a 60 Hertz display, and it's still smooth, but you know, if anyone's tried 120 Hertz, you know, going from 60 to 120 Hertz is definitely a big deal. It does feel like buttery smooth. That's one thing. Let's try Pokemon Go. POCO looks like it jumped out. Instagram. S10 jumped out really fast there. S10 loaded that up super fast. Earth, pretty much a tie. Let's try Temple Run. S10 Plus. So again, we're not seeing a big, and this could be, the S10 Plus could be jumping out ahead because, you know, the software optimization, because they're not very, you know, super different chips. I mean, it's an 855 versus 860. That's not a huge jump. But as we can see, sometimes it comes down to, you know, how well manufacturers optimize the software. S10 Plus. Amazon. But they're both super smooth phones. Spotify. S10 again. So it does look like the S10 is overall just slightly a little bit faster than the POCO. It got in there super quick. Twitter. Again. Twitch. And Discord. Now, what you see with gaming performance is that both of these phones are going to do an excellent job with gaming performance. Just super, cheap devices for gaming, so you don't have to spend a ton of money to get some high-end gaming on your phone. As we're going to see, both of these phones will be able to pretty much play any game with max settings. I have gaming tests on both of these phones, so be sure to check those out. Fortnite, Call of Duty, PUBG, as we're going to see, is going to run like a breeze on both of these guys. S10 got in there first. POCO. Alright, so if you check out the graphic settings, as you can see, extreme, and then we have Ultra HD, and it's the same thing on the S10 Plus. Let's go ahead and download Ultra HD here, but for right now we'll just play on extreme FPS, and you'll see that it runs pretty smooth, guys, on both. On both here, the POCO. Like I said, if you guys want to see gaming more in depth, definitely check out the gaming test. And the S10 Plus is the same thing. A lot of people don't like the double punch hole, but the double punch hole is fine if you play, if you just flip the screen. But to me, it's not that big of a deal. You really get used to it pretty fast. Your eyes won't even really notice it. But game performance, like I said, is going to be buttery smooth on both of these devices. Look great, and they're going to play great, so awesome. Alright, let's go ahead and check out multitasking here. Now, we do have 8 compared to the 6, so let's see if the POCO can keep up here. And it just closed out Subway Surf. Now, some of you guys said turn Game Booster off, so I'll definitely turn it off next time, but some of you guys were saying you keep it on because it comes, Game Booster's on by default on the POCO. And you can see the POCO kind of struggles, and I don't know if it might be a MIUI problem or it could be the Game Booster, but it shouldn't. Okay, that's still open on both. Had a connection problem, I guess. Again, S10 hasn't really closed anything out yet. The POCO has closed a bunch of applications out. Yeah, so it's pretty much, it's like night and day when it comes to RAM management. Okay, it kept Twitter open. Closed Twitch. Kept Discord open. Alright, so as we can see, the S10 just did pretty much didn't close anything out as expected. POCO kind of struggled a little bit there. Alright guys, so I do want to talk about the cameras, and I just want to talk about these specs real quick, and I'll show you guys these side-by-side stills. So on the S10 Plus here, we do have a triple camera setup here, and it is a 12 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel telephoto, and then a 16 megapixel ultra wide. It also shoots in 4K 60 frames, and then you have a 10 megapixel selfie along with a 8 megapixel wide camera as well here, and that shoots in also 4K 60 as well. So the POCO does have a quad camera setup. So it does have a 48 megapixel standard, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel macro, and 2 megapixel depth sensor. It shoots in 4K 30, and then it has a 20 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 1080p. So let's go ahead and see what those stills look like side by side. Alright guys, here's the video on the POCO X3 Pro here. Alright guys, here's the video on the Galaxy S10 Plus here. Let me know what you guys think. Stereo speakers. Let's go ahead and hear which one sounds better. Here, starting with the S10 Plus. Yeah, the S10 Plus definitely sounds a little bit more crisp. They sound really alike though. Like they almost sound like the same volume. It's just that you have a more kind of crisp sound on the S10 Plus. Yeah, so the bass is not, the bass kind of sounds really equal, and as far as volume, they both sound, pretty much the same. It's just that the S10 has a completely different sound profile. It kind of has a more crisp sound with the hi-hats and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's a tough one. But I would definitely go with the S10 Plus. I think I do like that more crisp, sound profile. It might be because it has Dolby Atmos, so it's able to optimize, and we do not have that, on the POCO. So I think that's I cannot talk today. I think that's what's going on today. Yeah, so thanks for watching this video, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next